So your beatitude, the situation in Syria, as we know, is tumultuous right now. How would you describe it? Is it a civil war between factions in Syria, or is it something more than that?
Well, it is a very special and very tragic situation. War. It is a war. Civil war, no. Civil war, it means people fighting between themselves. That is no. It's a kind of opposition, we can say, a kind, but really not clear. We don't have real opposition. We don't have not a body, not a vision, just groups there and there, and very divided. In addition to that, more and more are foreign people fighting inside with the declaration of Kofi Annan and Akhtar al-Ibrahimi. I was with them in September last year. They said we have about 2,000 uncontrollable groups, not persons, groups. And you imagine how many are people. We hear again and again people coming from Germany, from the States also, you know, from Canada, from England, from France, from Spain, from Italy. I don't know why, just to fight. Muslim or converted or other Christian and people who like to find some sense for their life, maybe no more significance for their life, just to fight. And that is what makes this change very, very complex and sometimes also very negative for our government, so that it means that the government is killing the people. Well, if those people, partly opposition, and these groups of bandits, of warriors, fighters, they are infiltrating there and making life impossible, displace people, and they are taking stones and people as their shield. And therefore...
How much is it due to, we hear here that there's some influence of radical Islam?
Higher and higher and increasing. And that is what is really not the opposition. I don't think the opposition is doing that. But sometimes they are very near to the opposition or helping or getting help from them and so on. And some sympathy with them and some also alliance with them. And that is what is making the impression that Christians are targeted. They are not targeted from opposition, I don't think, but they are targeted from the others as instrument to bring riot between different groups and to give the impression that this is kind of Christian-Muslim war. It is not true. It is not Christian-Muslim war. It is not civil war. It is just, as Robert Fisk said, it is the worst war of lie and hypocrisy. And chaos. It is chaos. The real name for this war is chaos.
Where does President Assad fit in here? You know, in the United States, we seem to be supplying the rebels, but President Assad seems to be defending Christians. Is he a friend or foe?
It's very simple. I think you are also sending, I think, money and also weapons. I think so. Yeah. It is not something new, and it is not an accusation against USA, but they are doing that, and also England and France, Germany, no, and other countries, not to speak about the Arab countries, they are all sending money and weapons, and everything is paid. From the first beginning, this opposition was never peaceful. Never. From the very, very first beginning, I have testimonies of my bishops around Syria, and I am the head of the assembly of the Catholic bishops in Syria. And I knew about that because we are gathering again and again and telling each other what about there and there and there. From the first beginning, no peaceful. The so-called opposition destroyed from the first beginning, the first months, all police stations between South Der'a, it means Jordan border, to about 50 kilometers to the north to go to Damascus. All police stations were destroyed. Why? What? And the policemen were forbidden to have gun, just to have stick, not gun, for months. That is the reality. And those children, where their needs were taken away, it is not true. Nothing at all. No trace of that event. And it was, the reason why all people who against Assad, against it, there's nothing about that. Therefore, this word of Robert Fisk, lie and hypocrisy and manipulation. The media, it was maybe the biggest war of media in the new area of wars. It is different of the First and Second World War. It is really a war of media.
Yeah.
Manipulated, show, that Photoshop, and so on and so on. And that is what makes the war really a chaos. And everybody wants to profit from this chaos against Christian, against Alawite, against Sunnite, and but everything is false. It is really a foreign war in Syria and against Syria. Nothing else.
What is the state of the church there then? Can Christians, can they worship freely? What do you hear from your bishops?
Well, the country, Syria, is one of the most, excuse me if I say that in America, of the most democratic country in the whole Arab world, except, let us say, Lebanon, well, Israel, other world. But when we consider other countries, we have really liberty, freedom of religion in Lebanon, in Syria, in Jordan, in Iraq, Egypt, partly, Palestine, okay. Out of that, this very other world, those countries are really more or less very near, but about freedom of religion, churches, to build churches, to have our own freedom, to have books, religious books, gospel, and what else, to have our fraternities, to have our schools, our associations, our welfare societies, and I can build as much as I can churches. And interesting, every new region or suburb of a city where you have a new agglomeration, the state, the government is giving a gift, a land for a mosque and a land for a church. We don't pay light, we don't pay water, we don't pay for goods for the church, any kind of fees and so on. No taxes for the church and so on and so on. Procession in the streets. I can dare say sometime we can practice our faith more freely and more apparently in Syria and Lebanon and Jordan and so than maybe sometime in a laic France, which is the mother of the Catholic churches. Excuse me, but it is a reality. What you hear today about Syria and this cruelty against Christians, about 91 churches were damaged or destroyed. I have the name, I have it. And many people, 24 churches, villages, the Christians left their places, and so on. But this is not because of the Muslim in the country, because of the war, of the chaos in that war, and because of foreign groups, but not before, because of the local Muslim and so on and so on. Really, we had in the Middle East, let us say more. In the Middle East, except Saudi Arabia, you have a kind of freedom of religion which is not really very well known in the West. You can't speak about persecution in this land. You can't speak about persecution in South Africa or in Pakistan. But you can't speak about persecution of Christians in the Middle East area. In Egypt is sometimes, yes, but those countries facing the Mediterranean Sea, they have another face, another aspect. That is what we are very anxious to lose through this war because of foreign influences and somehow influencing the way of thinking of some Muslims in our country. Therefore, we have to work, Christian and Muslim together, to avoid these effects, this impact, side effects of the crisis on the way of life of the population, Christian and Muslim alike. We have to work on that, we and the Muslim, and I am working with Muslims, with the Awqaf minister, to avoid the effects of the influence of this not conservative, fundamentalists and so-called takfirists who are willing to infiltrate their ideas in the Muslim society. Therefore, we have to work with other Muslim Christians to avoid this new vision which is foreign to the real Islam. And that is very important for us, and therefore I am working in a positive way to have a kind of forum or a lobby of thinker how to put some little leaflet and pamphlet in the schools to avoid these ideas which are foreign to Islam and damaging the relation Christian-Muslim together. It's our task as a church. And we thank Lord that the churches have one voice: Orthodox, Catholic, Armenian, Maronite, Syriac, and so on. We have one voice altogether, and we had some declarations from the first beginning till today, where we gave a common declaration about our unity together, our unity to relief, to have a common service of relief, or to encourage each other to exchange our information about the need of the people there, and also to work for the release of the kidnapped people, to help there, and so on, and how also to present ourselves toward the government, toward the realities of that, and to speak to Europe or to America about this, and in that form to help to solve some problems and not to make worse the situation in our country.
Are Christians fleeing, though? We hear that some Christian communities are almost disappearing.
Well, disappearing, no, but we have, first, as I said, 91 churches destroyed or damaged, 24 villages where the Christians were not expelled, were compelled to leave because of the insecure situation and because of the bandits and the chaos and so on. And then we have about 450,000 Christians who are displaced inside and outside Syria. We have about 42,000 living in Lebanon. They left Syria to Lebanon. It is 100 kilometers, but it is no problem because they can come anytime. Then we have few of them in Jordan, very few in Turkey, I think, more Armenian maybe, and some of them in Egypt. Some went to Iraq. It's interesting. We welcomed 1.5 million Iraqi in Syria, and now they left to Sweden and elsewhere. And some of our people are willing to have some business and some work maybe in Iraq. But the worst is that people are living abroad. It means to Sweden, most of them many, because before the war, many were already in Sweden. Then in the States here, in Europe, less, in South America, Australia, especially where they have done some relatives. They went there because, come, I can help you, and so on and so on. But for the whole situation, we thank the Lord, this immigration is still today not too high as it is said in the world. We are happy, and we are working very strong to tell our people to stay, to help them. We have a very strong committees of relief. Each priest and monk and nun is now a social welfare association. And we get inside money, we get from NGOs, from Catholic relief services, and so on and so on. We are very happy, but we need more and more because the difficulties and the problems are raising daily. We have about 1,000 victims of Christians, but not forget we have 100,000 of victims of all. So we have to think not only for our Christians, but also Muslims. We are helping everybody. This is Christian faith and the Christian love, and we are happy to be really the Christian. We have no party, we have no weapons, we are not in the fighting. We are a real element of communion, of reconciliation, of love. For example, I have my Paschal letter, and I have a text of that. The charity will never fail, and the media of Syria, which are mostly Muslims, they brought this point, and they emphasized how important it is that all Syrians, especially Christians, may play the role of love in this situation. Wonderful. This is a real testimony of the Christian in spite of their difficulties, because they are vulnerable. They are maybe in a way targeted in indirect way in order to have money, to kidnap them and to get money through that and that. Churches, their houses, this stolen. For example, you have Qusayr, you have Yabrud, you have Balula, the famous Sadat, where the people left and their houses were destroyed. We have a loss of about millions and millions of dollars to repair houses, offices, shops, churches, schools, and so on and so on. It is a very huge loss for our church. So in spite of that, we are really realizing how strong is the faith of our church. I am happy to say that in America here, how our people are still strong in their faith. For example, for the Lent time before Easter, for 50 days, we have daily prayers, and all churches were full, praying, and in a way also enjoying their faith and living their faith in spite of all that. That is for me a school of faith. We have a school, not we are at the school of our faithful.
So why have you come to the United Nations? What are you asking from Kofi Annan? And,
well, in order to make heard the voice of the church and to see some realities which are not clear and are deteriorated or manipulated in the West. I was several times in Europe, in Berlin, in Paris, in London, in Luxembourg, in Strasbourg, in Rome, Italy, and so on. And I realized that they are not well informed about the situation, and they are more or less one-sided. Even in the United Nations, I don't see that they are realizing the real situation and understanding that we, Christians, we are not really dependent of the government, or let us say, as you say, of the regime or of Assad. No, we are free. We are very free. We are very objective. And we are seeing that the stability of the land is in this statu quo. Any change will be a big damage for everybody, not only for Christians, for Muslims, even for Sunni. Now more and more people are seeing any change without vision, without real alternative, and the real program is nothing. What can be a new program for Syria where we have this life before the crisis? It was a wonderful life. I am expressing not myself as priest, I am, well, in a good situation, but the simple people, they say, well, okay, we have bread, we have school are free, health, you can go to all hospitals free of charge. You have universities more and more. You have work. sheep. The cheapest country in the Middle East is Syria. And the country where you have less immigration is in Syria. You have more immigration of Christians in Lebanon than in Syria. It means the people are okay. They are happy. They are, well, there is corruption. The sex service is very strong. Okay, it is a regime, you know, it is a party, Ba'ath Party, 40 years old. Well, but the new president is really improving many things, but slow. And I see a new vision, a new look of the world. And therefore I am saying, and therefore I am here in the States, and in order to emphasize, if Europe, America, and I call upon Obama, we have trust in him, he can change, and I will call upon him to be the peacemaker of the Middle East. This is the real role of America, to be peacemaker. They can do. Europe is following America, and therefore I came in order to make here my voice that the good and comprehensive solution, diplomatic solution of the crisis in Syria, with the help of the government and acting with the government, not against. Well, there are problems and there are also faults done by the government. War is war. But if really we can have a comprehensive solution with the government and encouraging a real opposition to go together with the government, and if we can go to a solution of Syria, next will be the solution of the conflict Israel-Palestine, and it will be a real peace for the Middle East. Now the key is really in Syria and in Palestine. And Israel, you know, now USA is working very hard toward peace in Palestine, Israel-Palestine. But we have to work on the same track also for Syria. The two tracks are related. And if no peace in Syria, you will have very big problems and fire more and more in Lebanon, in Jordan, Iraq anyway, Egypt other problem, and then more and more to the east, to the Emirates, to Saudi Arabia and so on. Therefore, it is in the profit, and it is in the view of peace for the whole country to solve in a good, comprehensive way peace in Syria, peace in Palestine together. These are the keys for the future of the peace in the Middle East, for the future of continuing life and conviviality and dialogue and harmony between Muslim and Christians, and also trust between East and West. There is no trust now between America and the Middle East.
No.
Some friendship, some interest with Saudi Arabia, but not trust. Europe and America are not trusting, and we have, as Christians, the role to bring trust between Europe, Christian Europe, and Arabic Islamic world. That is our role. And therefore we are working for the preservation of the Christian presence, not because of the presence, but mostly because of the role. You can't speak about a Christian presence without speaking and explaining the importance of the role of the Christians for the future of democracy, of freedom of religion, freedom of conscience, democracy, opening, youth, work together, and so on and so on. That all the things, in spite of our minority, or a little number, that minority, let us say, we have this big role. Like the Pope Benedict said in the Catechism, the you cat, he said, don't say you are little, as Jeremiah. You are little, but you can do much. Don't be afraid, as John Paul II said. This is what we say to our people. You have to be powerful in order to fulfill your role, to be salt, to be light, and to be lived in the society. And therefore, we are working very hard to diminish the immigration, and to diminish the causes of the immigration in order to have a real society able to work for the others. And I have always this word of John Paul II. He said the essence of the human being is to be with and for others. So the Christians are there with Islam, with the Arabic word, but for the Arabic word. And that is the meaning and the sense why I'm here and why all patriarchs and bishops are working hard to keep this little community, this little flock, in order to tell them, look, you have a big role, stay there. And without you, no testimony that the Lord Jesus was there. Well, it was said as the Holy Father John Paul II came to Syria, the president told him, welcome, Holiness, in Syria, the cradle of Christianity. How wonderful. It is history, but it is courageous to say that in a country where you have 24 millions, mostly Muslim, and only 1 million ¾ are Christians, to say that reality, Christianity is here. Jesus was born in Palestine, in the Holy Land, but Christianity was born in Syria. In order to preserve this reality, this history, and this role, we have to help, and also Europe, America, to help Christians to stay there, not only by money. We need money, but let me tell you, we need more peace, and then give me peace, I can guarantee a Christian powerful presence in the Middle East. If you give me weapons, insecurity, war, our people are all candidates to leave. Be sure. I thank you for your help, America, Europe, and other institutions, Catholic and others, Orthodox, Anglican, Protestant, and so on. Thank you, but give us peace, and I give you a Christian, powerful, and full influence presence in the Middle East, and also a conviviality and dialogue, Islam, Christianity, and peace for you, and also peace for the Muslims who are living and more powerful and number in the States and also in Europe. The fear, the Islamophobia can be avoided through peace and through solution of the conflict Israel-Palestine. If Islamophobia and so on and so on, all these aspect of difficulties between Islam, Christianity, East, West, the trust and so on, can be solved through a real peace for the two places, Palestine, Israel, Palestine conflict, and Syria crisis. That is the future. That is the key.
Yeah.
That is the hope.
One last question. Have you spoken with Pope Francis about
Again
this?
and again.
Yeah. What does he say to you? And when he comes to the Middle East in May,
He will
what will he say something about Syria?
He will say he spoke about Syria more than 40 times in this first year of his pontificate, and he prayed for Syria in the 7th of September, and he saved Syria from an attack, of USA against Syria.
You credit the Pope's
A miracle,
prayer.
because the prayer was on 7th of September, on the 9th, but Saturday, Sunday, and Monday, the vessels left the coast of Syria and no attack. And Syria became member of the institution against chemical weapons, and they are ready, they are now about 88% of the chemical weapons are out of Syria. That is a miracle for me. And that is the power of the peace, not the powers of the war. We have to trust the power of peace and not the power of war. And I am writing to the Bishop Conference of the World. I send this week a letter to all Bishop Conferences of the world to tell them, work by your governments for peace in the Middle East. And also I am thinking if they can make together some paper, like a map, road map, I don't know, to present to the Holy Father, so the Vatican can have a special think tank. That is the future of the Church, if they can bring peace in the Holy Land, in the Middle East. I think that is the very real strong and power of the church if they can bring peace, Israel, Palestine, and Syria. This is a real challenge for the church, and we have all together to help church to be able to be on the level of this very important challenge for the church and for the future of coexistence, dialogue, harmony, reconciliation, a new world, new vision, a real spring. We pray for that.
Beautiful. Thank you, Your Beatitude.
Thank you very much.
It's a pleasure talking to you.
God
I'll
bless.
let you go with your guests now and say hello.
Thank you. God
Thank you
bless.
so
Thank
much.
You. Thank you.